What is up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? My name is Jade, and I'm joined today by my good friend and collaborator, Simon Anderson, coming in at about 5 frames a second. But how are you, Simon?
I'm doing well there, thank you very much, Jade and Hannah. Great to see you both. Hopefully it sorts itself out, otherwise we might have to try something else. But look, it's coming and going, so hopefully
Yeah.
the audio is at least not that bad.
And she's here to break up the possibility of my shit chats. It's Hannah. How are you doing, Hannah?
I'm fabulous, thanks. I hope all is well, and it's been a really good week. And how's your week been?
All is well. I mean, something that I didn't get to sort of rant about last week because change of plans for us was my daughter turned 10 years old. So I just want to shout out to Evelyn for her 10th birthday. Absolutely. I cannot believe it's been a decade since I've been in charge of a child. A decade.
I feel a bit old from that.
I'm feeling really old about it. Like, yeah, I cannot express enough in words. Like, there is no playbook for parenting whatsoever. I'm not even sure if I'm doing it all correctly or even that well, but we are doing it.
Yeah.
You sure are. You sure are doing it.
You're an amazing dad.
But so good to see you, Simon. Sucks that we missed last week, but great to be here. We got some interesting articles on the way. But before that, we do have a question of the day. Simon, are you into it?
I'm ready.
Alright, let's
go.
go.
No idea, so I don't have an advantage, Simon, so let's see.
Okay. Does a focus on hyperdiversity support or stifle inclusion? Does a focus on hyperdiversity support or stifle inclusion? And of course, if you're watching us live here on Twitch or DLive, you can comment and we can respond virtually immediately to your comments, so feel free.
So I guess I'll go first.
If you want to.
Yeah. It's I think it stifles inclusion.
Okay, go on.
We'll start from there. And I think what I'm talking about is true inclusion. And if you focus on hyperdiversity, then everybody is going to feel loosely connected to everybody, and they're going to feel quite uniquely different to everybody as well, right? If in a society you focus on hyperdiversity and you push every person to really show their specific unique traits and promote them instead of just having them at a healthy level to build and focus on the things that make you diverse or perceived as diverse, then you end up with a society at large who is so variated, or I'm not sure, or variant, is not sure what the right suffix is at the end of that, but it's so diverse that then that connection between them isn't strong. Whereas in a society, if you focus on what is the commonalities that exist between a group, and you don't put so much importance on what's different, but you accept them, then that would truly breed a much more inclusive society. If everybody is accepted based on what binds them together, and that's enough to make a society work, right? Then that's the key thing, is that you've got to make sure that the things that are holding you together and that are consistent across the population are values or traits or whatever it is that you deem worthy enough to make a whole society function. But if you focus on that and say, hey, these are the non-negotiables for what we consider the staples of keeping us a cohesive and inclusive society, and then we don't care what you do else except anything that brings harm to those key principles, then that is a much more inclusive society than I think, than something that would be my version of what hyperdiverse is.
So, thank you, Simon. I'm just going to just add on to that because I think you summed up what I was thinking really well. So, as soon as I heard the question, I thought, no, straight off, no. And then I just didn't know how to put it into words. But the best, I completely agree with you. And I think this thing is actually finding that healthy level of diversity, and then also celebrating and appreciating one's individual traits, one's individual perception and the way that we can live, but also celebrating one another to share and share with one another and not be restricted. It's not a diversity, it's an actually bring it to be an inclusive where we can actually learn from one another. Where I'm thinking of especially is languages. How can we learn more from one another by actually having a diverse range of friends? If we were just pushed away and said, no, well, you're over here and you're over there, that's not going to work. And I'm thinking especially with also the disability community, how it may affect.
Thank you, Hannah. So for me, I when I think about the concept of hyperdiversity, it's like, Simon, I don't know if you've experienced this in any of the circles that you frequent, but I'm noticing people calling out pronouns. I'm noticing people calling out their triggers. I'm noticing people calling out their favorite colors. And I'm just trying to be like, hey man, we're in a meeting, we got a problem to solve. I just really need to know your name, why you're here, and maybe we can solve the problem. It's like, I don't know if I'm being overly simplistic, but I'm a bit like you, Simon. Let's find the things in common, and what makes you unique and what's important to you. That's already cool. I don't have any negative feelings towards people that want 1, 2, or 15 pronouns. I really don't care. But it's sort of like, why does that matter in the meeting? Show me your talent, show me your value add, and let's get going.
Exactly. Tell me where you're from. Don't tell me anything else about you. Like if you're introducing yourself to me or whatever in a meeting, tell me what you're from and tell me how we can bond together on a common goal or the common problem or solution we're about
solve
to
this
go.
problem that we're working on. Really cool that you've got pronouns. As I said before, really cool, but a little bit not so relevant.
So can I just ask you both a quick question?
Go ahead.
The thing that I really think of in relation to that, I think people really want to try and highlight that they have a disability. Now, what would be the best way to actually, as you said, get straight onto the point, but if you're saying where they come from, what would be the point, what would be the way, or what would be the most appropriate way to actually simply say that?
How do you mean?
So instead of saying, for example, I've been in a meeting that I've had someone say, so my name is Jay Jones and I am from New Zealand and I live with cerebral palsy, and I'm affected like this and this and this and this, and this is what I think about about this. So how can we actually promote that and say, okay, instead of you giving me your whole life story, how can we then
Yeah. I mean, it's probably more of an issue in the spaces that I'm in, because I'm in disability policy, right? But I have noticed that often disabled leaders are so used to being profiled due to their disability, they kind of lead with it.
Yeah.
I never mention it at all, and I'd be interested from a able-bodied perspective, Simon, what your thoughts are for and against leading with your impairment identity like that. Do you think it stifles or supports the dialogue? Because depending on who I talk to, they kind of go either way on that.
I mean, it depends, right? Like, so say it's the annual general meeting for the Cerebral Palsy Society.
Sure.
And saying, hi, my name's Jade, I have cerebral palsy.
Kind of irrelevant.
Kind of relevant. But, like, there's other times where you maybe, I know, just using your EGL group, for example, right? And you're talking about high-level designs for national systems, and it's like, most of the time you're leading with, hi, I'm Jade and I have cerebral palsy. It's not like that's needed.
Nah.
I mean, unless the conversation is specifically called it, you just, at best, everyone's just going to be like, okay, bro. At worst, you're gonna make at worst, some people are going to get really uncomfortable, bless their souls sometimes, maybe, or maybe people just subconsciously or then consciously try to then address that or filter their thoughts or discussion because of it, then, you know. Most of the time it's not going to be a net positive.
But then you look at the other side of the story, and sorry to talk about you, Hannah, but I think it's a little bit relevant when someone like Hannah's in the room. I think it really is important that you let people know you've got epilepsy.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I'm thinking more. I think like recently I was in a meeting, and basically every time somebody was asking the speaker a question, they'd then say
it again and again.
Hi, my name is Hannah, and then say the disability. Well, you're in a Zoom meeting. You're asking a question from somebody. You're like in the audience. You're not trying to.
Yeah, that's the difference.
You're not trying to. But I guess the one thing that in our situation that we are. Where I'm kind of thinking is, are they just trying to highlight, well, I'm in the disability community, I'm not just a reporter, I'm not just a mum, I'm actually part of the disability community.
Yeah, I was wondering that. This is a point I wanted to make before we moved on, Simon. One thing that I'm worried about, and I know we talk a lot about disability because that's kind of our two-rung why right at the moment, but it could happen for any sort of community. Maybe that's where they get a lot of their self-recognition from. Like, oh, yes, I am this. Whereas for someone like me and many others that I know, I forget about my disability. Like I'm not just saying that as a trope that I want to make people believe. I genuinely forget about it sometimes.
You've just made me remember this real weird train of thought I had as I was kind of daydreaming yesterday about like giving out counseling advice and basically saying for just thinking that some of the best advice for people questioning their sort of like sexuality and stuff, and it came from the story I was thinking about where it was kids in high school getting medication because of their belief in gender and that and trying to transition and stuff like that. And I felt like I wanted to the best thing you could say to them would be like, don't listen to the labels they're trying to get you to choose for yourself. The reality it is with your life is that you'll constantly grow through different, I guess, beliefs and like stages in life, and very often will anything be so concrete that it requires such drastic action to maintain. Like, and I feel like that's the same as well. And
Yep.
it's just like the labels that they're trying to get people to ascribe themselves to are like limiting. That's what the intention of them is. And so it's like if you ascribe all of these different labels to yourself, they box you in, and it gives you these assumptions, and it gives you these programs that you need to operate, and it's like putting yourself in a box, in a cage, really. And that's what I think drives it. But what I think is makes those labels so popular and common is that they're so comforting, right? It's like a false comfort.
It's a truth. It's an internal truth. Oh yes, I am this, and this is all that I am. And people are telling me that disabled people, that gay people, that old people are oppressed. And yes, I must believe that. Which I don't know what it is about me, whether I just have a screw loose or what, but I just don't get into that, man. I want everyone to aspire. I say this every time I meet up with Simon, that's all I want for everyone. Like, never ever misinterpret that I'm some sort of bigot or that I don't care for the misfortunes of people. I really care for the misfortunes more than you realize, which is why I don't believe in the tropes.
And I think
Exactly.
another thing with it is don't prescribe yourself to one way of introducing yourself in one certain situation. And I'm thinking of this situation in particular. We shouldn't be. It shouldn't have felt like, well, it shouldn't have then been feeling like to other disabled people, well, it's not appropriate to ask a question if you're not disabled enough.
The identity politics. I wondered if you were going to bring that up.
And
Hannah.
I think that's also wrong, and I think we can just grow. Own yourself and own who you are, but you don't need to share it with the whole world. But when you're asked, if you're asked about it, or if it's the right time to ask, share it.
Fantastic. And for those of you at home that are watching now or on demand, feel free, absolutely, to give us your response to the question of the week. We would love to hear it either now or in the comment section. But actually, the conversation we're having is a fantastic segue to the first story of the afternoon. Simon?
Yes.
Do you like taking a bath, mate?
I tell you what, if I'm on holiday and the motel has got a bath, yeah, I'd definitely take advantage of that.
Did he say motel? Ooh.
Hotel, motel. I don't discriminate.
Yeah, I can't really either these days, especially now. But my story today, folks... Oh, and my camera's gone out. Bear with me. My story today is around the IHC. And Simon, you will recall a situation where at least one individual died due to taking a bath. So I just want to start there for everybody. So we had
everybody knows that extreme sport that we all partake in, and we risk our lives daily just to stay clean. Bathing.
Yeah. That very dangerous activity that can end your life, which is bathing. But anyway, the plot thickens where the IHC took out bathtub tips, and I think if I actually go to the article and scroll down a bit, you'll get a view. Like, there's proof right there that they've literally removed the taps from residents. So rather than having a think about how they could manage their staffing procedures better and their expectations around personal care, which is a pretty standard support line in disability support. I mean, very standard. It's like every single disabled person would have some element of personal care support in their situations, and IHC said, no, we're not going to allow you to have bathtubs because we're really shit at supervising. Anyway, the WorkSafe has come back and said, that's not good enough because enabling good lives is a real thing, and having a bath in your own home is a reasonable expectation for a person. So then, we'll provide the links after the show, of course, as we always do. But then the IHC CEO came back and said, if you want us to stop people dying from bathtubs, you'll need to give us more money. And they didn't say that, of course, but we want to... I will read a quote, though. So, IHC Chief Executive Ralph Jones said, "We want to acknowledge that this is tough. We know that some people like baths, and to not be able to have them is frustrating."
I thought you were going to say, we know people like to have baths and not drown.
But yeah, I'm kind of paraphrasing. We will provide the link, but the article does go on to make reference to the fact that IHC is squarely pinning their policy change on the Ministry of Health and their lack of resourcing for the IHC. Whereas WorkSafe, we're all fans of WorkSafe here on the show, of course. But WorkSafe is saying, actually, that's not a thing. You should be able to enable people to have their baths. Simon, have you got any views on this?
I think I know what their problem is that every time they have a meeting to try and solve this crisis, the whole meeting time's taken up with them all just mentioning their pronouns and triggers and favourite colours. So they get a team together and go, right, we need to get our customers to be able to have a bath because it's manner enhancing and their choice to be able to have a bath. So what do we do?
But before that, we need to know from everybody what their favourite colour is, what temperature they would prefer to have this forum in, and if you could think of a spirit animal that you would most likely be in this meeting, please.
So I'd really like to
and then, oh, whoops, it's over.
Oh, sorry guys, we're out of time, because we're taking an agile approach, of course. We only allowed 15 minutes for this meeting, so thanks so much for coming. And, yeah, what about those people dying?
So
no more baths, take out the tap.
So that was a situation, and it was a terrible, horrible situation that happened, and that happened when and they did it wrong. But what I'm also going to say is, so a person may only have a certain amount of personal care hours. Oh, to let our audience know, IHC is now changed their name, but they have
No, they haven't.
Oh, okay. IHC is a New Zealand company, and they work a lot with individuals who have learning disabilities. So it doesn't mean all of them have physical impairments or will be in the situation where that situation will end up happening. And also for those that they're thinking of their mana and thinking how they can support them more, is what about actually communicating with somebody, talking with them, and then also just, I know this sounds really weird, but what about just role playing? I'm thinking actually talking with the customer about what a bath means to them. And
the article actually does speak to that one of the recommendations from WorkSafe is they should have never ever even considered stopping baths, especially removing taps. I mean, that is just so rough. What are you, in jail? Like, that is just so intense to remove the taps, and they're saying you should have discussed this with customers and their families. But for me, I think this is a shit take from the IHC. This is coming, speaking as a disabled person, throwing out my identity there a little bit. I think it's a shit take. I think the IHC need to do better and just grow up, really, because AGL is now online and coming to a town near you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, agree.
So it's like, oh man. But anyway, you know, and the last thing I wanted to say on this is there is a family member that was interviewed for the story, and they refer to the fact that for their family member, baths are actually really meaningful in managing their just overall well-being and behaviour. So,
wow,
you know, baths definitely regulate my behaviour. So I know what that's all about.
Yeah.
So
there's like some establishments in the city centre, Jade, that you can get a really good bath. Maybe we should do a work trip there one day.
Which ones are you talking about?
Oh, just, you know, these nightclubs. They
Yeah, I know the ones.
Fancy,
Yeah,
fancy baths.
Yeah, bubble baths and motorbikes.
Yeah, good for your mental well-being.
Yeah. Talk to you about that after the show, maybe. Family. Family show.
What I was actually, what I was just going to say also too is, so they've got to remove taps from baths, right?
Taps, yeah.
I mean taps from baths is actually there has been stories historically, not from them, but actually people drowning when in showers. So, what is that going to say?
I don't know, man. Like, as I say, shit take. I don't like WorkSafe for the most part, but I agree with them on this one. Give people back their baths and fuck off.
Otherwise, we'll end up full circle and it'll just be the hose again.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, don't even give me
because nobody
some.
will drown from like that.
But from baths to the Ukraine.
From baths to bombs.
From baths to bombs.
I do like bath bombs.
Let me load you up, Simon. So, what do we got today?
Alright, I mean, so I guess I've just got a few different...
Do you want me to click on these?
No, just stay there for now.
Okay.
Like, a few different Twitter posts just from some of the stuff that's popped up regarding the Ukraine and Russia, and I guess I just wanted to use it as a bit of a hey, there's so much just bullshit going on online, trying to just get you to think a certain way, whether it's either or. So just keep an eye out for it. And I mean, definitely, because Putin definitely put out a video statement saying that he was, you know, making a move, and if anybody came out and did anything about it, that that they'd get squashed. So there's definitely things happening, but it's just to the scale of what has been reported and what I see people believing. I definitely don't think there's as much fighting and that going on. And just to kind of prove it to you is just some of this stuff that I've got here on these Twitter links. So just scroll down a little bit, Jade. The photo on the left here with the balaclava man and his missus, it's like this tweet from this lady, and it's painted out to be Ukrainian soldiers. Obviously, it says it there in the text, but you know, Ukrainian soldiers leaving their missus behind to go fight for their country, and it says absolutely heartbreaking. And then on the right hand side,
It's a movie.
just, you literally Google the War of Chimera, and one of the screenshots of the movies is the like pretty much the same thing as the screen grab from this video pertaining to be like real journalistic footage. It's just like so low bar. Like
I don't know if you
is-
can see this in the tweet. I don't know if people at home can actually see my cursor. But if you look at the tweet, Simon, there's actually even a timestamp in the tweet on the bottom left.
Oh, I can't quite see it now.
Okay, sorry, mate. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, if you just exit out of that and open up the next one, I haven't seen the actual video of this, so I've got no idea whether this is if this is a legit debunking or not, because we all know how corrupt Snopes and fact checkers are in the stuff that they debunk. So I don't want to just be like some guys like, oh look, they proved it's fake. So I don't even know if this is real, but I'm just giving this as a bit of, you know, perspective builder. Is that, you know, they were these articles, you know, with bandaged women and showing civilians being attacked by bombs, just keep going through the images, and you can see that it's from a gas explosion in 2018. Keep going to the next one.
There's only 2 in this one.
Oh, there's only 2. Oh, right, yeah. So there you go. So I mean, it's proving the story that it's from 2018. On to the next one. This guy here. Make it full screen.
Okay, cool.
And about how brave and heroic is Ukrainian to protect our soil, to protect our future, to protect our
This is
freedom
their
and our
news.
democracy. We are in the center of Kiev. We are here to protect Ukraine, and the Russian position is about a little bit more than 2 kilometers from here. This is very difficult.
He doesn't know what he's doing.
In Ukrainian about how brave.
He doesn't even know
and
how to put it
heroic
back
is
in. That's why he didn't
to
go
protect
for it. You know that. So it's like, what the fuck is going on? That's on Sky News. Like, look right there. It's on Sky News on TV. Like, what is going on?
So okay. So let's say we're doing all this debunking stuff, which is fine, cool. So what am I to take from that? That the war is fake or what?
I don't know. It just means is that maybe some of the incidents on the ground, maybe they aren't actual as close to the war zones as they say they are. You know, I don't know. All this does is just provide enough evidence to start being skeptical of the stuff on social media, and I just don't think enough people are.
I want to give a really big shout out to one of my moderators and a long-time follower of the Jade Farrar show, Splashy.
Splashy!
Is in the chat. It's been a while since we've seen Splashy. Welcome back. Welcome back. She's been a long time gone, actually. I've been worried about that woman.
Is there more links?
There's a whole bunch. I might just have to pull them in. One sec. You got. Let me check. You got this one. Can you see that?
It's still the same.
Oh, my apologies, man. I'm looking at a different window. Souls.
Well, we all know the excuse, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. He black.
He black.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to spend time going through the detail of all of them, but if you just scroll down to the first post below this one, so oh yes, this is interesting. So the I'm not sure if you've seen this video, right? It's pretty horrendous, but what you see is you see this civilian car enter the frame, and then you see this big army vehicle of whatever it is just change its course of direction and just drive straight over this this car, and they're saying it's like a Russian tank running over a civilian, but apparently it's actually a Ukrainian air defense system, and so it's Ukrainian on Ukrainian violence, it would seem, being blamed on the Russians. The video is pretty gruesome, eh? Like you can see the guy trapped in his car alive after the tank rolls off him, and like these villagers coming out to help him, and they're just axing at the door. This one here that you've got pulled up.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm trying to organize myself, but it's going on the live view. Sorry about that.
You're alright, mate. We're doing it live. So this article that Jade's pulled up here, the Ghost of Kiev, fighter pilot blowing up Russian aircraft, and trending clip actually from video game. So there was this kind of like rumor starting around that there was this random fighter jet pilot who was just scrambling all over Ukraine, taking out Russian fighters like left, right, and center. Had taken down like 7 different planes or something like that. So if you scroll down, I'll see if I can spot the part of the article that talks about it.
Oh, sorry, hold on.
Stop. Yeah, it was the first paragraph. The clip of Ukrainian fighter jet blowing up suspected Russian aircraft started trending on social media. Many believed it was proof of the exploits of a mysterious and unverified ace pilot called the Ghost of Kiev. It was actually fake footage from a 2013 PC game, the Digital Combat Simulator World. So there's footage floating around apparently of some Ghost of Kiev fighter jet taking out Russian pilots and, you know, using it as some sort of wartime story of hope and resistance, I guess. I'm not sure why, but just some real weird version of Chinese whispers that has turned into some mythical story of a fighter pilot, but I don't think it's true.
Simon, you've got to help me out. I'm the black guy on the show, as everybody knows by now. What is this actually all about?
Like, I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you.
I've heard that the president of Russia is dying of cancer, and he's using this to make a point about his authority and power. How relevant is that?
It's interesting. I mean, he doesn't look like the type of guy that looks like he's dying of anything, you know, like he's not skinny, he doesn't look discolored or anything like that. He's definitely not someone dealing with a late-term cancer battle. So I'm not quite sure about that. What I would think is that it's based around the fact that Russia is against NATO quite strongly. Russia is quite a Christian fundamentalist country, has very strong conservative principles, and hates the Marxist, communist, socialist direction that the West is heading. Putin is not a fan of pronouns in bios, and so having Ukraine so tightly aligned with these enemies of Russia has been a security threat for the longest time. And so, I mean, he already, was it 8 or so years ago, went after Crimea, which was that key part of the disputed territory, and that's, you know, that was a long time ago. So this hasn't just kind of been a very recent battle. I mean, this has been something that he's been planning for a while, I guess, and he's either been forced into doing this now because of what's playing out globally, or this is something that he wanted to do.
Amazing.
I mean, but yeah, but as for why he wants to do this and yeah, start taking territory from a neighboring country, don't know.
Well,
The main fact, the lines on the map in Europe are basically silly little drawings, like especially after World War II. It doesn't really make much sense. People have forgotten that.
how much, I know I'm kind of like spitballing with you, Simon, like questions you might be unprepared for, but should we be worried from an economic standpoint around this?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
how relevant is this to the everyday New Zealander, would you say?
This is, I mean, ears to the ground, tinfoil hat, wearing, tuning into the conspiracy. This is the start of the end, and you know, the talk is that in terms of sanctions of Russia, they're talking about removing Russia from the SWIFT accreditation, which would apparently
I saw that it would disable their ability to make bank transfers, period.
Yeah, and the thing is because Russia is one of the last like gold-backed currencies. They have a shit load of gold to back their currency, which the US dollar and most others haven't been backed by anything besides confidence since they took the gold dollar, they unlinked the federal dollar from gold, and then started all those oil wars. So if they remove Russia, then a lot of the stability of the dollar currencies around the whole world just be destroyed, and people will start just throwing everything they can into gold. People will be trying to get their money out of banks, and that will get frozen. I think this is and then what people don't realize is that China is slowly moving towards Taiwan at the same time, so like this could very much be a very fast escalation into full-on chaos very quickly. It could all be nothing as well, right? Like so many times throughout history, everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's happening," and then it doesn't. So always be ready for that.
And of course, I'm not a financial advisor, but I've noticed that generally speaking, the cryptocurrency markets have completely tanked. Now most people are upset about this, but I see it as a real buy-up opportunity. And I'm treating it that way right at the moment, just little by little. And, because all markets recover eventually, don't they? And I might be able to benefit. As I say, I wouldn't be telling anybody to copy what I'm doing.
Yeah, the only risk to the crypto space is the fact that if we have this collapse in the banking industry and then that creates some really unstable times, there's probably not going to be much of a functioning internet to manage a global crypto economy.
Sorry, run that by me again. What's happening to the internet?
So if Russia gets removed from SWIFT, the dollar's trust and value tanks. Everybody tries to pull their money out before it becomes worthless. Societies fall over, and then
but
war
then I've
starts.
got a challenge for you here. Because what happens on those crypto dashboards right at the moment is they always compare to the dollar. And I've been saying to people around me, it's like, okay, so let's say one Bitcoin is this much US, and one Binance coin is this much US. But who says we had to keep pairing like that? You could buy goods and services by saying, give me 0.7 whatever for this. And you could just, you could just be, what's the word I'm looking for? You could just trust in the crypto itself and forget about the dollar entirely. It could be, hey Simon, you want to buy this from me? Send me such and such, Ethereum, and you do
Yeah,
that.
but what I'm talking about is that if we were in a situation where there was no other currency except crypto, to get to that point, there's going to be such civil unrest that there won't be a functioning internet or network to cater for that. That would be like the least of our problems. I think it would be more like find 3 or 4 people that you can run a homestead together and live off the land, kind of apocalypse style thing. I mean, I don't think I think the internet is more fragile than we believe. I was talking about this with my friends. I think even if it was just one underground sea cable got nuked, just the load shift would pretty much like DDoS itself, right? Like imagine a major cable between continents getting taken down. I'm not sure on the internet's redundancy, but I'd say that traffic would like just collapse it.
Yeah, no, you raise a good point there, Simon. I'm not sure that the internet is redundant. I think it does rely on single cables. I think there's a single cable that serves the Pacific, that we have a branch off, and Tonga had a branch off, and Tonga's branch got severed in the earthquake, and they were done burgers.
Yeah, all the crypto traders in Tonga were probably freaking out.
Yeah.
Where'd all their money go?
But in saying that, Elon dropped a whole bunch of his satellite internet on them, so...
Yeah, but they've got to be connected to the cloud storage servers, you know, like your cloud is still a computer somewhere, they always say. So even, I mean, Starlink isn't a floating data warehouse that's going to have enough capacity to run, yeah.
Oh, so you ruined my punchline, Simon. I was going to convince myself that Elon was going to save the world.
They're painting him up to make him look like the real world Tony Stark.
And you don't think he is?
Nah. Well, I think he's got some powerful friends and interesting past.
So how do you want to wrap this? What do you want people to go away from this Ukraine stuff with? Because I got to tell you, not because of you, just because of the subject, I'm still struggling. Like, I don't get it.
I'm still struggling, and I think a good thing is, like, for me, right, I know for a fact there are some people who are pushing an agenda in regards to the pandemic and what they want in terms of how society to function. Those same people are now quite vocally supporting Ukraine and saying that we must stop Putin and that he's the bad man. And so my previous distrust of this group of people in regards to their management of this pandemic and where we are now has proclaimed me to then kind of side with Putin for the time being to see how things unfold instead of just blindly following along with what seems like the majority. I don't want to be a contrarian, I really don't, just, you know, like and do the opposite of what the common man is, but when the most common man is a imbecile, you know, he often don't do what the masses do.
Simon, I just need to break up the flow here for a second and acknowledge Ruben over on D-Live for the donation of 1 ice cream. We really appreciate it. I don't actually know the value of that, so I have to look into that later.
Thank you so much, Ruben. That means so much.
I'll have that after dinner later, thank you.
I hope you have a lovely day, Ruben.
But thank you for the ice cream. I need to know a bit more about the donation stuff on D-Live.
I'd love to know if you've got any comments, Ruben, or have anything
He
to
thinks
share
we
with
need
us?
an ice cream. That's his comment.
Yeah, well, an ice cream's the last thing I need, being diabetic. But anyway, so bringing us to the final stretch of the show, Hannah, I'm not sure if we have a link. Do we have a link for you?
Yeah, no,
Okay, let me find that.
I've kind of got 2.5 stories now. I've got one.
Cheetah.
one link, but
Simon had like 17 links, so you're alright. You're alright, Hannah.
And how quickly did I get through them?
Pretty good.
This little sort of post. No, go on, Hannah.
so
Yeah, go ahead, introduce it, and I'll bring it up.
So I'm going to talk on the good old, the good old
mandates.
the good old COVID situation. So, which is disappointing. You know, when are we getting rid of them? So a big thing here in New Zealand is actually getting rid of mandates. A lot of organisations have mandated the vaccination now. You know, it's big vaccination, big protest outside. There's a protest outside our parliament, but on last Saturday, what happened was there was a protest that actually went across our harbour bridge and then had people staying overnight in the park to prove the point that we don't need mandates. So there's two comments around this that was really annoyed is people were saying no, this cannot go ahead. This was actually set up by Voices for Freedom here in Auckland, but this was actually done.
Oh, we're gonna get banned now. Every time you say Voices for Freedom, boom, we're done.
All across New Zealand, but this is specifically what they were saying is that how can you let this go ahead? This is just going to spread the virus worse, and basically all they could say was the police just said everybody has their own right to protest. If it's a peaceful protest, we cannot get involved. So, big ups to our police force for taking that view and actually...
Yes, we should always congratulate the police for following the law when they do. That's really good.
Actually, literally, there was news reports on this saying you've got to stop this. Why wasn't it stopped? This was ridiculous. So it's good that it went ahead. Now see how the outcomes of it were, and finally we've actually seen our Prime Minister put a temporary expectation of when the expectation of required mandates will be taken off, which is great. Now, I'm just saying...
Whoa. Hold on. She said what?
She said that mandates the vaccination pass will... Sorry, not mandates. Vaccination pass will not be required, which will also mean that a lot of...
when, though? Because you said she's laid out when it is. She hasn't said when it is, has she, Simon?
I haven't heard that, no.
Oh, I thought she said April. Sorry, my bad.
No. So, what's that group that Mahi is a part of? The Rights Coalition have said they want it gone by the 1st of March.
Okay.
And the Prime Minister indicated a plan is developing.
Okay,
yeah.
So I will correct myself and say that's not correct. But good that there is conversation. But yes, our Prime Minister is literally saying we will not. She's calling protesters terrorists. She will not actively discuss things with the community now because she's seeing people who do not agree with her as terrorists.
Have you got a comment on the because it's been quite a few days now, Simon, the parliamentary grounds protest. What's your hot take there?
Good on them. I reckon it's pretty cool. Like they've been strategically challenged in so many different ways in terms of the loud music and what they've done recently, and with putting large concrete bollards along roads and access points. What they're trying to stink them out, right? Like because of all the portaloos and stuff, they were preventing access for food and cleaning missions and stuff like that. So so instead of having portaloos, I saw photos on Twitter of like this person, and it was like a tweet, and it's like, Jacinda's not that smart, is she? She mandated it so that all these tradesmen had to lose their job, and so now they've got nothing better to do than design a toilet block down at the protest. And so there was like a full-on toilet block with plumbing and everything fully assembled down at the Parliament. So there's a toilet block and a shower block and gardens and
I've heard that they even have like a hospitality wing where they
have nursing, they have first aid, they have a crypto tent for people to get into crypto. Like, I saw like a whole festival map like of the grounds there, help all the different services. It's pretty cool.
If I didn't have the responsibilities that I've got on, I definitely would get amongst.
And we didn't get a chance to cover it because it was kind of popping last week, but there was a big story about how some police were covered with an acid, also substance I thought was acid, which turned out to be pepper spray from one of their other police officers. And it was a story run that, in the mainstream news, that the police were attacked with a substance that they thought was acid and they needed hospital treatment, but it was another officer. They caught it on film, an officer with pepper sprays spraying in the direction of where his other staff come from standing, and they come through the screen like covering their eyes, rubbing their eyes because they got pepper spray.
So I didn't get it. Was he just like irresponsible with his spray radius, or was he supporting the protest?
Yeah, no, he was irresponsible with his deployment of it. He was, trying to get some space, I guess, for the protesters to move back, and it just wafted into the eyes of the officers there instead.
So,
and then there was have you seen the bald guy that got assaulted by the police officer up against the portaloo?
Nah, man. Tell me about that.
I mean, so there was a confrontation between a line of protesters and the police were pushing these guys, telling them to move back. And there was this bald guy who was like pinned up against the portaloo, and this police officer's like giving him good shoves into the portaloo and saying, "Move back," and he can't move. And you can see the the protester like having a conversation with this guy, like with a grin on his face, like he's probably saying something like, "I can't move, mate," or something or whatever. And then all of a sudden, this police officer just with his both hands just grabs this guy's head and shoves his thumbs into his eyes, and then like starts throwing punches at him, and like starts like punching him in the head, and he like eye gouged him real bad. And there's this photo of his little face all swollen and beaten up. I'm sure I'll be able to find it probably to share quickly, but
yeah, I'll drop it in the Discord and I'll definitely play it. Yeah, keen as.
So I've kind of got my half story that I was just wanting to share. So last week, this is kind of a bit of personal news, but not really. But the interesting thing is, I actually needed to call the ambulance, and I actually got told...
we haven't even told Simon that story. Oh my god.
I actually got told that, "Oh no, it's alright, you're not dying. We have no ambulances available because of COVID." So I was like, I need to go to hospital, but you're saying I'm not going to be accepted at our hospital. So just to remind people at home, we actually have public health system here that is paid for, but they told me that no, you got to go to a private clinic because of COVID. So, how does that, for me, I was thinking, how does that make sense for those who cannot then afford private? Now, I have that ability, but there will be people who wouldn't have been able to afford it. So that would have been difficult.
I don't know. Yeah, due to COVID-19, they couldn't pick her up, and then I had to be a Uber for the morning.
Yeah. So, simply, I'm fine, of course, but I decided to go for a surf down the stairs. I literally missed 4 stairs, and just cracked my head open a little bit. And ended up
Just a little bit.
Yeah, only needed 1 stitch in the end. 1 stitch and skin glue. They decided to me that I was so hoping that I could get away with it and just be like, okay, it's fine. But no, they said, no, we will. Jade looked at it and said, nah, you can actually see it's really deep. So, and I got away with just 1 stitch, but yeah, I'm pretty bruised up, and I'm lucky that I did not break my my leg. It's pretty close to, and I'm questioning if I've damaged my knees at all, but I'm pretty bruised, so. But I'm pretty good. I'm fabulous.
Such a drama queen.
I did not want to be a drama queen. I wanted to have a fabulous day. It was not my plan at all.
Let me know when you dropped it, Simon, because I don't even know.
I just found it, so I'm opening up Discord now.
Yep.
And then my other thing that I'd just like to talk about. This was a story I found for last week, actually, and I don't have the link for you, but really what it is one of our universities is now just
real fast, Hannah, we might just pause on that, and I'll go straight to this. I don't want to play it there. Sorry.
So hopefully this police officer's gone on a nice holiday.
Let's get the sound on, eh?
They really give it to
running.
See it? Ready? Yeah. Turn the volume off or something. Yeah, if you scroll down, there's more.
Yeah, let's have a look at his look at
There's better photos to get his damage. That's just a nice emotive piece, but you can keep going.
Yeah. Oh, look at that, it's zoomed in, mate. Look at that. Let's pull that
Full
up.
screen, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Look at that. No doubt about it. Get in there, my son. Oh my god. Yeah. They would have grabbed his badge number and said, yep, you'll be off for a few days. How about this? Is that anything? Was that the back side of it?
No, it just hasn't happened yet.
Alright. Look at that. Look at it.
Yeah, open those ones.
So, no eye. And dents in his head.
So yeah, that happened since our last live stream.
Far out.
Peaceful protest.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know what to say after that. I feel sorry
Yeah.
for that fella because our government always promotes us as this like very gentle, very supportive kind of society, eh? And
Yeah.
then you see situations like that. I mean, I feel sorry for the dude.
You must not spend much time on Twitter, because if you did, you'd see me retweet that kind of stuff, because I've been sharing all of it, and I retweeted that video with the caption "Better Work Stories," because that's the favorite advertising line of the police. That's surely a good story to tell your grandkids, when you're a bit older, how you put your giant big thumbs into some poor protester's eyes because he's trying to protest for his freedom.
Oh, I was humming and ahhing whether I was going to do this actually, Hannah, but I'm going to do it. So, Hannah and I are talking to police at the moment for a situation not involving us. We're actually acting as witnesses for something, so nothing to do with us. All is well. And we had a chat with an officer who visited us a couple of nights ago, and the view of this constable was that it's time for the mandates to go. Obviously, we won't name this person because I don't want a whole big left-wing charge for this man's job. But yeah, he said the mandates don't make sense. We have over 90% vaccination. Herd immunity should be a thing that we can shift into at this stage. And he said the protesters had a point, didn't they, Hannah?
Yeah, he said, I can't say this out loud, and which was really good. And he kind of said to me and stuff, he said, hey, did you want to, I feel really bad, but do you want to let me know what's your choice for not getting vaccinated?
Yeah.
He said it like really...
Yeah,
not
really
softly,
gently.
It wasn't like he was saying, well, why not? And it was just like, oh, fair enough. Makes sense. Okay, great. No, it should be herd immunity, and there should be enough of us to have choice and control and also look after ourselves.
I just thought that was important to raise because it's easy to get a certain view of police when you see those videos, and sure, that guy that dug his thumbs in like that, he did a really bad thing. I want to be really clear about that, but there are police out there that very silently, unfortunately, right at the moment, are supporting the anti-mandate movement. So there you go.
Yeah.
Got any thoughts around that, Simon? That's a true story, by the way. Not a bit of it was extended or exaggerated.
I think it'd be pretty hard to find somebody who's like real keen on the mandates. I mean, they are out there, and you see them on social media because they love to scream about it. Like, so when you would have like an honest human conversation to somebody, and you're like, oh man, how about all this COVID nonsense? Are you still, all for it? Now, most of the time they're gonna say, nah, I'm over it, mate. Or they might even go as far as saying not keen on the next vaccination, or I need all of this extra rules and running my business to piss off. And that's the most common reaction. Nobody's really supporting them except for the people that put them in place.
Yeah, exactly.
So, two of the things I just wanted to talk about is, the first thing is, I read an article last week about, our top universities are now freaking out that actually working from home will be a long-term thing because of COVID. Well, this should have been an option. This should have been thought about before COVID even existed. So I thought that was a bit stupid, and they're going to literally do studies on how managers will handle it, how it will happen about productivity, and there was even talking about, oh well, you can get certain apps to turn off and on your work schedule if you feel like you can't work from home, and
I just wanna, because Simon and I were talking just before we went live. Simon, I just wanted to ask you again for the benefit of the audience. Can you take it or leave it working from home? Like, are you pretty keen to get back to how it was, or are you pretty used to the kind of vibe that you've got going right at the moment?
I mean, I would like to have the opportunity to go back to the office if it was the right idea and the right option for the day, but currently my working lifestyle is pretty awesome. So I'm pretty happy with how it is. But yeah, I would just like to be able to go and meet my colleagues in the office for, like, you know, training meetings and stuff like that, where face to face is a bit better, and have some shared morning teas and things like that.
Sorry, I was just going to say a quick question to you, Simon. There's no awkwardness from your colleagues if they call up and they find that you're going for a quick walk to get a coffee and it's not in your scheduled morning tea break or something like that, or?
No, I mean, if I'm not in a meeting, I can be wherever I want.
Yeah,
that is,
you know, like,
so cool. Yeah, that's pretty much like me. Yeah.
And this is what
that's how I treat it. I just get what I need to get done in the week, and whenever it makes sense.
And that's exactly how it should be. And this is what this article is literally saying, is for those who work from home and not too sure, and we're thinking, well, if my boss calls and I'm out for a walk, what will that happen? And actually then another boss was saying, well, I will walk, I will, if they work at night, then that's fine, as long as they get their work done. That's all that matters.
Yeah, just mindful of time, and I've actually had a final thoughts planned for today. I actually did some homework on my final thoughts today. So I want to leave everyone with a bit of a thought around COVID. My sister contracted COVID last Thursday, and she's been dealing with that. The other thing I'd say is that she's pregnant with twins right at the moment, so that could be considered a bit high risk for the situation. I asked her before the show, I said, what do you want me to share as a first-hand experience of COVID-19? And my sister would like everyone to know that, COVID has a huge impact. You do feel really ill, but she only felt really ill for a couple of days. She's feeling much better now. I was also saying to Simon, I did a bit of a essential supply drop to my sister yesterday. Some honey, some ginger, buckets and buckets of vitamin C. I just kind of got my arm and swiped as many as I could off the shelf and got myself some as well.
Can I just quickly
jump in there? Real fast, final thoughts.
No, the thing that was really funny that Jade told me about, I wasn't there, that somebody else in the store was literally saying, how can he take that many? He can't take that many. He can't take that many.
Yeah, no, that was a real thing. There was this guy, and he was like, oh, and he goes over to this other girl and he's like, oh, is he allowed 4? I mean, it's the big buckets. Is he allowed 4? And the whole thing was that there were no medium buckets of vitamins, so of course I'm going to go for the big ones. Anyway, I got them all, and did a supply drop to my sister, and she's feeling much better. So my hot take on that is, yeah, you can expect to feel a bit shit, but you are going to pull through for the most part. I don't want to discount, though, that people have died in recent days in New Zealand from COVID-19, and maybe Simon would like to cover that in his final thoughts. I don't know.
I was just going to say, be careful with which words you use there, whether it was from or with. We've got no idea whether
Okay, true.
COVID-19 was
Yep.
was what actually killed them, and so we'll leave it up to people to make their own judgment on that. But final thoughts from me is just, man, there is a full-on. I saw someone write it was there is an omnidirectional assault on the mind at the moment. And you can't really put it much better than that. Like, just take breaks from the bullshit, and just take everything with a grain of salt. And just always think, like, what is the benefit for this to have happened the way it is, and for this person telling me this, and for someone making me think a certain way, what is the benefit in them doing that? Because
what do they get out of it?
Yeah, that will always help you to make sure whether you're actually thinking your own thoughts or you've been convinced to think a certain way, and it's fine to accept that because it happens to all of us.
Wow, that's deep, Simon. Thank you so much, and it's good to be back with you in the usual format for 2022. I must say, yeah,
it's been good. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, Hannah, final thoughts?
I think it's been a lovely evening, guys, and thank you. Always look forward to talking to everyone from around the world and their experiences. Thank you, Jade, for the question. And I guess, not only are mandates being put on, this is something I haven't brought up, but not only are mandates being put on by our government, is that it's now through our exporting systems, other external countries are expecting,
such as China,
expecting that every worker who is dealt with the export to be vaccinated, and then requiring documentation of that proof that everyone is being vaccinated and having rapid antigen testing daily, and that is exactly right, such as China.
Thank you, Hannah. And for those of you at home that have watched this and are thinking about how you can support the podcast, please consider following, subscribing, whatever the button happens to be on the platform that you're watching. We really appreciate it. Donations are possible as well. We'd really like to hear about anybody you would like us to interview on the podcast. I'm thinking about shifting gear and inviting a few guests on. I know Simon's been thinking about that too. So if you've got anybody in mind you would like to see us interrogate live on stream, feel free to reach out in the details provided in the video description. But for now, please don't eat any bats that come from Wuhan. Thank you for being a part of the channel. Thank you for being a part of the journey. Please stay awesome, and I'll give this one to Simon.
And we'll see you all in the next one. Pew.